This is the Wheatstone Broadcasting Corporation.
Scott Feibush here talking with Tom Sprague from the Museum of Broadcast Technology. Where are you located, Tom?
We're located in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, which is not too far from New York City. It's about 175 miles from New York, about 11 miles from Providence.
You've brought some goodies here to show off this year. What are we hearing whining behind us here?
Well, behind us we're hearing a somewhat worn-out Ampex VR3000, which was their field portable 2-inch quarterplex machine. The VR3000, well, according to Ampex, was introduced in 1967. I don't know that they shipped any until 68 or 69, but it was lightweight and portable by a lot in its day. It was only 60 pounds. And if you look at the Ampex literature, they show a man backpacking this machine. So, yeah, it's not like it is today.
What did it need for power?
It actually ran on batteries if you wanted it to. So it has, over on the right-hand side of the machine, if we look at it later, there's a black power supply, and the power supply could be taken out and a battery pack inserted. I think it would record pretty much a 20-minute reel on a battery.
What would you have used as a camera with it?
Well, it came actually with a black and white camera. There was a camera that plugged into the machine, and of course it was really kind of too late for black and white. So a lot of people would use something like a Norelco PCP90, which was a two-piece camera, or over here we have the RCA camera, the TKP45, which was a two-piece portable camera. So what we see here is the camera head, and it went with a backpack electronic assembly, which you really didn't want to pack that. It's too heavy. The camera itself is probably about 40 pounds. So it's handheld, but not for a long time.
This, of course, explains why at that point in the 60s and early 70s we were still using film-free NG instead of toting these around.
Oh, absolutely. This would be for production as opposed to ENG. Even though the first ENG cameras were two-piecers, not really a whole lot smaller than that. But it was really the advent of smaller, lighter tape machines that started ENG.
What else were you not able to bring that was too big to take on the road? What would you see if we went to your museum?
Well, we got one of the original videotape machines going. The Ampex VR1000 was the first model of machine that was actually sold, was put into production. They introduced a prototype in 1956, which is 60 years ago, almost 60 years ago to the day, because it was at the predecessor of this show. So in celebration of that, we had a VR1000B, and we spent the last year and a half getting it working, putting it back together and getting it working, with the idea that at least for this show, we would make a video recording about the machine that made it possible to make a video recording. Amazing. Which we did. So that's running on a monitor over there. And people saw this in February and said, oh no, you have to bring the machine. Well, of course, that was a lot to do in very little time and a very expensive thing. So there's a lot of crating involved, and there's a lot of special handling on both ends. Actually, trucking it back and forth across the country isn't a big cost.
Talk to me a little about the importance of keeping the history of this alive. When I can now shoot 1080p video from a device in my pocket, what's the importance of showing everything that led into it here?
Well, I explain to a lot of people that people collect automobiles, but they really haven't changed. If you think about it, an automobile is about the same size, it weighs about the same amount, and in inflation-adjusted dollars, it costs about the same amount of money. Whereas in this industry, things have changed by 1,000 to 1. That's why I think it's really important to preserve some of these things, because future generations are not going to believe what it took and how it had to be done. And yet, it was done, and it was done for years that way. So we have a museum in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. A friend of ours is starting a museum in Kilgore, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Chuck Conrad.
Chuck Conrad. And we're using the same business model. We have buildings that we own. So as a result, it isn't a case of putting it all together and then losing the lease, which is a common problem. So we think we have a chance of this stuff lasting longer than we do. And that's the goal.
Excellent. Tom Sprague, thank you so much. You've sold me. I'm coming up to visit at some point for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.